Hello，欢迎来到异想直播间。本场直播的主题是 BioChina 2026亚洲市场。Hey everyone, welcome to today's webinar hosted by BioChina. Today's webinar topic is Asia market.
Good morning. Thank you for attending. Okay, so this is it says Asia session, but it's actually a Japan session because all the panelists are from Japan. I'd like to share some our perspectives on the opportunity for Chinese companies in Japan market. So my name is Song Yunke in Chinese. I was born in China, risen in Japan, got my PhD from US. I currently lead Syneos Health, which is a large CRO or CSO, but I lead the consulting practice in North APAC region. So Japan is a very large market, very attractive market for foreign companies. It's actually the fourth largest globally in its size. It has the longest life expectancy, and that is supported by very nice health system, supported by the national payer, and it starts to accelerate the review process of pharmaceutical product very nicely, and it has a universal public healthcare, which means everybody gets the same quality of the healthcare, and when the pharmaceutical product is approved by PMDA, it will be reimbursable in 90 days, almost without exception. So everybody gets the reimbursement for all the pharmaceutical product as long as it's approved. And then it's also worthwhile being noted that the pharmaceutical products are carried by the specialized supply chain. So wherever you are in Japan, you'll get the same quality of the healthcare nationally. Japan rewards innovation. So first of all, they're trying to eliminate the drug lag or drug loss, meaning Japan market being neglected. They're trying to accelerate their review process. They're trying to justify the pricing, give the attractive pricing, eliminate the price cuts. There have been a lot of movement in this, and has been somewhat successful. And when it comes to cell and gene therapy, because I know that there's the cell and gene therapy panel later on, there's a dedicated review process for that, and it's very nice market to test. So we say at Syneos, it takes science to get the product approved, right? You need scientific data, you need statistics, medical data, right? So it's science, but it actually takes art to launch the product successfully. So it's a lot of business decisions and assumptions, strategy. So it's more art than science in that sense. And by art, it's actually we will break it down into A and R and T. A meaning asset. So we ask how valuable is your asset in Japan market, and you need to understand the special pricing system in Japan, and how the commercialization dynamics work in Japan. And R is a resource. So how do you play your resource in Japan based on your globalization strategy? Do you want to employ everybody, or do you want to work with another pharma? Those kind of resource planning is also very important. And T as timeline. So timeline meaning what do you have to do when in order to launch your product successfully and in a smooth manner. In terms of the asset, right? The asset value, basically that's a revenue that the asset generates in Japan. It's basically the price times volume, right? Though the price times the volume is revenue, especially when it comes to price. This is Japan's pricing system. It's it's basically either the comparator method if there's a similar product already in the market, or cost accounting method if there's no similar product in the market. Typically, the latter, the cost accounting method, generates higher prices, but this is going to be case by case, and you need to have a good strategy to justify your path, justify your numbers, and we are happy to discuss this and then provide the perspectives if that's something relevant to you. Um, and in terms of resource, uh, you can hire everybody in Japan to create your own shop, or you can simply license it out to another local pharmaceutical company. There's a pros and cons. Basically, if you create your own subsidiary, there's higher risk but higher returns in longer term. Um, and then license out vice versa. It really depends on company strategy. But these days, there are increasingly more companies choosing somewhere in between, where you can play either with a local player or total integrated solution providers like us, Syneos, or other local players, where we can give you, for example, the necessary resources, including the sales reps or the medical or some of the leaders as well, so that you can actually hire the minimum set of people and have the majority of the people injected from elsewhere. And in terms of the timeline, right, there are a lot of tasks that people need to consider. Very early on, it'll be very important to assess the opportunity, and also create the clinical design, clinical strategy. But what's also very important to know is that Japan is a KOL driven market, especially when it comes to rare disease or innovative drugs. So you need to understand the KOL network. Often, specialize in a small group, and you have to build a relationship with local KOLs relatively early to make sure that the product is accepted after the launch. There's also regulatory pathways that needs to be considered, as I mentioned earlier, and also the pricing analysis, which needs to start relatively early. And Japan hiring takes a lot of time. The local team formation takes time because Japan is a market where the labor is protected very nicely. So once you hire, it's not super easy to fire, I'd say. So you have to set some time to find the right talent, especially the first one or two people. The general managers are very important, and at Seniors we have the function to find the right talent for you, to form the initial team. And of course, when it comes to the commercialization strategy, we need the medical, commercial, pricing access. All these strategies take some time, and that typically start somewhere during the later phase of the phase 3, or right after starting of the filing. I wouldn't take too much time going to the details, but I want to let you know that we have a white paper dedicated for Japan market entry, and we are one of the players that actually helps a lot of Japan market entry strategies and cases. So if you're interested, we're more than happy to discuss or just start some casual discussions. Our white papers are here, and then we also have the official WeChat. So I'm more than happy to chat after, or in our booth, which is in the Biopharma area. So if you are interested in Japan, we're here to discuss. Thank you for your attention and the interest.
Great. Good morning, everybody. Firstly, thank you very much, Yunke, for a great overview of the Japan market and how Senios are involved with helping people. So I'm Douglas Campbell, and I'm from Mochida Pharmaceuticals. So we got the Chugai presentation up here. Welcome to the Asian Markets Strategic Alliance panel, where today it's a great honor to, we're three Japanese companies. I'm from Mochida Pharmaceuticals. We have special guests, Seungwon Song from Chugai, who is a senior manager in the global alliances, global business analyst at Chugai. And we also have Olivia Baddeley, her senior director in global business development and licensing from Tanabe Pharma. So she is actually replacing Sean Ryan, their chief business officer, who unfortunately was unable to attend. So we're three Japanese companies with quite very different situations regarding globalization and our activities. So at Mochida, we're a mid-sized, very domestic company. We have a few alliances with, say, Chinese companies, and we're just starting a small regenerative medicine business in the United States. We are currently focusing on small siRNA oligonucleotide drugs with a desire to identify original compounds in our drug discovery center in Shizuoka in Japan, and then outsource for clinical development, maybe to global companies or Chinese companies, which is one of the reasons why we're particularly interested in BioChina. So we'll start off with the brief company introductions from Chugai and from Tanabe, and then we'll go into a panel discussion on the Japan market and maybe how Chinese companies can enter the market. So firstly, we'll start off with Song from Chugai. Welcome, Song.
Hi, nice to meeting you, and thanks for coming in this early morning session. I'm Song, as Douglas introduced. I'm in charge of a business insight and strategy department in Chugai. And I'll just go very briefly on my company introduction and leave many more details for the panel discussion later. Chugai is one of the Japan's leading R&D oriented pharmaceutical companies with a very strong focus on innovation and proprietary technology. I came up with some figures here. It's on about last year's information. So we, in terms of the revenue and size of the companies, we have around like $8 billion of revenues, and we had around like 4 billions of operating profit. And one thing I want to highlight is the high operating margin, which is 49.5%. I think it's quite high, but it's due to a very unique business model that I would like to talk about later. And we are very sensitively tracking how many companies approved our drugs, because we wanted to track the expansion of the patient access. So Chugai's products approved in more than 110 countries, and in terms of the technology and services, we received like 9 times of breakthrough therapy, and so on. This is just a brief history of Chugai, and one thing I want to highlight is we became a Roshi member, the Roshi Group's member, since 2002, and since then, many things changed, and this is one of the topics we would like to discuss about the global alliances as well. And also another one is we marked the 100 years anniversary last year. This is the brief description of the strategic alliance model under the Roshi Group. So Chugai is taking care of Chugai's own territory. Here means including Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. And Roshi Group includes some other companies as well. For example, in Europe, Roshi covers most of the European market, and North America is covered by Genentech. And we have some other players as well, like Flatiron and Foundation Medicines. And Chugai is contributing in like early stage discovery and development, and Chugai has developed those early stage assets. And for global market, we are licensing out to the Roche, and Roche is doing the global development and commercialization scale up. And at the same time, we are in licensing assets from the Roche for our territory as well, mainly for Japan. But one thing I want to highlight is that after becoming of the Roche Group's member, Roche is owning around 60% of the share of Chugai, but under the contract, we have a independent operation. So sometimes we are working with other companies than Roche Group members as well. I came up with this figure just to see how successful alliance or partnership can contribute the result of the performance. And as you see here, in a small text, it increased since the alliance in 2002. The profit increased a lot, like 6-fold in revenue and 21-fold in operating profit. Even if we are very actively working with group members, we also are having some global footprints, including our offices in Europe, USA, and also we have some investment funds in US, and recently we opened up a partnering office in San Francisco. So yeah, this is a brief introduction of Chugai, and I will call for Olivia for next Tanabe. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hi, everybody. My name is Olivia Baddeley, and I'm a Senior Director in the Global Business Development and Licensing team at Tanabe Pharma. These slides are less focused on our history as a company and more focused on our key strategic objective, which is to bring innovative medicines to Japan by partnering with companies from America, Europe, and increasingly China. So we're here at BioChina looking for partners so that we can bring innovative assets to Japan. A little bit about who we are. So Tanabe Pharma is actually the oldest pharmaceutical company in Japan, and I believe the second oldest in the world after German Merck. So we have a very deep established history. Formerly, we were called Mitsubishi Tanabe. Actually, last year, Bain Capital took Tanabe Pharma private. It was a carve-out of Mitsubishi Chemical. So we were originally publicly listed as part of Mitsubishi, and now a private company, half owned by Bain Capital Private Equity and half by Bain Capital Life Sciences. So it's an exciting new chapter for us as a company. We have at the moment globally around 4,500 people, and our global revenue in FY24 was around $3 billion. And we've actually innovated a lot of in-house products, but partnering has also a key part of our DNA. And products that we currently sell in Japan on behalf of partners include our partnership with Lilly. We sell Mounjaro and Zepbound in Japan, which is doing very, very well. We're very happy to be part of that alliance. Also, this is one of our older partnerships, but we also sell Remicade, Simponi, and Stelara with J&J. We also sell Uplizna with Amgen, Ingrezza with Neurocrine. So partnership is a real part of our DNA. Until now, mostly with global pharma, emphasis on maybe American companies, but we're increasingly looking to diversify that and increase our partnerships in very important geographies such as China. This is a snapshot of our Japanese portfolio. So we're very much focused in these therapeutic areas: CNS, I&I, cardiometabolic and kidney, and vaccines. As I noted, Mounjaro and Zepbound in cardiometabolic and kidney, that's a very large and growing part of our Japan business. And traditionally, until recently, there's now biosimilar competition, but Stelara, Simponi, Remicade is a major part of our domestic business. And under CNS, we originated several important CNS medications such as edaravone for stroke and ALS, and fingolimod for multiple sclerosis. Vaccines is also a key part of our business and something we're also looking to partner. But what I wanted to mention here is that while these are our key therapeutic areas, we are also interested in moving beyond these. And our general philosophy is we want to bring innovative medicines from the world that meet key unmet needs in Japan to Japanese patients. That's our core philosophy. And what do we have to offer to partners? Well, as I mentioned, Tanabe is one of the oldest pharmaceutical companies in Japan, and that goes along with deep capabilities, fully integrated operations. So we can offer best-in-class capabilities to our partners, and that's across sales and marketing. So we have a large sales force of around 830 reps at the moment. And proven ability to get to peak sales very swiftly through excellent go-to-market approaches. Across the development and regulatory, we have a large clinical development team, and we have deep understanding with regulators and deep relationships with the regulators as well. So we can help our partners to navigate working with the PMDA, with pricing authorities, and also with local KOLs to execute the best clinical development. As part of the Bain Capital transition, we have really internationalized our business development team. We have a very large team in Japan as well, but this is just a snapshot of who we are globally. A lot of our team is now based in the US, and we're traveling to China regularly, where we're working on making sure we have very broad international outreach to make sure that people know who we are and know what we potentially offer as a partner. So please feel free to come up to me at the end of this panel discussion if you would like to talk further. And yeah, that's all of my slides.
Great, thank you very much, Song, for introducing Chugai, and Olivia for introducing Tanabe. Now we will move into the panel discussion part of the session, and Yunke will also join. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your sharing. Let's welcome the panelists for the next session.
有请下一场
Yeah,
访
you
谈
guys
嘉
go
宾。
first, and then I'll come on at the end. Yeah. Great. How many? Oops. Okay, great. Great. So we've now seen an overview of the two companies and an overview of the Japan market. So we were hoping in the time to discuss a couple of topics. One, so the type of strategic partnerships in Japan, for example, with using Tanabe and Chugai as examples. Could Japan be considered a gateway for globalization? Is it just, are companies just aiming for the Japan market, or could it be a stepping stone to a broader international market? And then finally, hopefully we can come on to some practicalities of the Japan market that maybe Chinese companies or other international companies would be useful for learning how to navigate the uniqueness of the Japan market. So maybe we can start by coming to the types of partnerships that Tanabe and Chugai have talked about. So recently, Olivia mentioned that Tanabe has been acquired by Bain Capital. It's now no longer part of the Mitsubishi conglomerate, and it'd be interesting to discuss whether that changes the business model. Are there any advantages to this particular approach? Because Bain Capital is a private equity company. So maybe Olivia could start with putting some insights there.
Sure. So, how our partnering strategy is really evolving under our new ownership is that we are increasingly refocusing on the Japan market, which we believe remains an extremely attractive international market with relatively robust pricing and reimbursement compared to many other markets. And many other advantages, such as increasing PMDA transparency and flexibility. So what we're focused on is very much, rather than before when maybe we were a little bit more focused on expanding globally and going into the US, we're increasingly refocusing on our home market of Japan. And how we can potentially partner with companies from China or other markets is that the attractiveness of doing a single country out-licensing deal, for example, is that you can maintain control over your overall program. Say if you're a Chinese biotech with a mid-stage clinical asset, if you license globally, you then lose control of your assets strategically, whereas many companies want to potentially fund the next stage. And if you do a regional transaction with a Japanese company, for example, you could gain valuable non-dilutive funding to continue to progress your asset or potentially your other portfolio assets. So that's how we see ourselves as part of the value we can bring, is not only can we help your assets succeed in the Japanese market, which is a very important market, but also that might play a key role in your own path forward in terms of funding and strategic roadmap.
Thank you. No, that's interesting, and particularly given a time where the Japanese government are putting efforts in to reduce drug lag and drug loss that Junke mentioned, and they're also trying to build up the pharmaceutical ecosystem. So there's a lot of efforts now. So Song, how does Chugai's collaboration with Roche fit? Is it similar or different to the Tanabe model?
Yeah, I think it's a bit different because Chugai mainly working with the Roche Group. So for early stage of development, when we hit a certain milestones, we are supposed to start talking with a Roche Group to see if they want to in-license or not. If they don't want to in-license it, because sometimes their strategic fit or portfolio proposals are a bit different from our portfolio. So in that case, we work with other companies, but we would like to talk with Roche first because it's been a very long-term partnership with Roche and Genentech. So that means we understand each other very well, and also we built a very strong reliability each other and trust each other. So yeah, that's how we work first, and then. What I want to highlight here is that usually, from my past experience, usually many companies start the BD discussion with the potential licensees when it hits a certain milestones. But for Chugai, we start involving the BD people or strategic people from a very early stage of development, even before the preclinical stages. When we start, for example, selecting the indication, we sometimes consider like what will be in like 10 years later or 20 years later in the licensing market. So that's kind of the key difference.
So you're taking quite a long-term perspective then
Yes.
on that with Roche. That's good. That's good. And so I think Chugai also is very innovation based, right?
Yeah,
So science based. Can you maybe explain that, and then we can see how that compares to sort of Tanabe's approach of going maybe going outside for innovation.
Sure. Yeah, Chugai usually adopt ourselves as a technology-based company or technology-driven company. I think that does not, of course, mean that we ignore other like business part or other parts as well. But we still strongly focus on science. I think it's because the Japan generally has a very strong scientific foundation.
Right.
So Chugai is also very actively collaborating with academia. As you know, many scholars in Japan awarded recently as well Nobel Prize recently, and Chugai is also collaborating recently with a scholar in Osaka University who received a Nobel Award as well, working on the T regulation cell. and also we worked on the IL-6 technology as well. That led to the Chugai's discovery of the Actemra as well. So we are, most of the resources are very strongly focused on early stage developments in technology.
Right, that's great. And is that different to Tanabe or similar?
Well, so Tanabe also has a very large internal research and development, large research organization as well. And that remains a key strategic priority for us, investing significantly in that. But what is top of mind for us is very much bringing in mid to late stage clinical assets, specifically for the Japanese market. So that's our key priority in terms of being at meetings such as this, but we continue to invest in our in-house research and development, and that's also important to us.
Right, so you're doing a mixture of both in and out licensing. So we've talked a bit about these partnerships, but one key question could be, what is a measure of success of a partnership? And so I'm wondering, between the two companies, or from also Junkei's general perspective for the companies that Syneos are working with, how are we measuring the success of a particular partnership?
Yeah,
So
that's a good question.
maybe
right?
start with Junkei.
Yeah, it's a very good question. It can be considered quantitatively and qualitatively. Basically, quantitatively, if you make enough profit, that's I say the sole measure. But the qualitative measure is very important, right? All the companies have its own globalization strategy and the vision, and it's going to be different from one to the other. Does it fit into the long-term vision? That is probably the most important. From the experience, for example, for Chinese companies, I see a lot of cases like this. Um, the company has already licensed out the asset to the US market and the Europe market, and Japan market hasn't been discussed yet, right? So it needs to be taken separately, and in that case, right, for example, working with a local player like Tanabe or Chugai is a very nice option, because these are very localized um, pharma with a lot of sales reps. Japan market still relies a lot on the sales reps and HCP relationship. So it's very hard to say, hey, I go digital and I'll sell on the web. It doesn't work that way, right? So you need to work with a local player which understand the context. So I think that if you're interested in playing seriously in Japan, I think these are the primary the players to work with.
Yep.
And just to quickly add to that, we do see quite a few international biotech companies go alone in Japan. The ones that are very successful, they tend to have maybe the ultra orphan or orphan drug, where it's possible to take on that challenge and build that lean, focused organization. But if you're looking at maybe an indication which is a little bit larger, in particular, maybe if patients are very fragmented, or it's just a large indication, it really is invaluable to have a local partner who can help you expedite and your clinical development as well as your commercial launch.
Right. Yep. That's important in the Japan market. It's interesting that you said that ultra rare diseases that people could go it alone. The government, I think, is ultra rare diseases that are a lot in the drug lag or drug loss in Japan. So that's kind of a different perspective. So Song, how are Chugai measuring the success
Well,
of
I think we are in a very similar position. But one thing I want to add is that the primary goal of making a partnership is not just complete the transaction. We want to expand our global coverage through the global alliances. So we are, of course, profit and revenue and number of patients are everything is very important. When we also specifically track how many countries approved our drug, so to measure that if we are effectively penetrating in more globalized market.
Okay, that's interesting. Do you have anything else to add on how Tanabe are measuring success of partnerships, Olivia?
Yes, I remembered after he said that I hadn't touched on
That's
that
fine.
point.
That's fine.
I mean, look, there's no, deep quantitative KPIs for that. It's more just about our partnering philosophy when we partner with a company is that we can bring value to this that is greater than what you could probably achieve by yourself, and that's how we would measure success in a partnership. Is have we reached all the patients that we could reach? Have we really maximized the value of this asset? Have we sped up the clinical development pathway in Japan as much as possible? Have we launched as quickly as we possibly could? Have we obtained the best possible pricing outcome? And have we reached the patients as quickly as possible? And it's all about, in the scenario where you have a partner, can you do that swifter than if you had launched alone? And that's really that gap there is how we would measure the success.
How you measure. Okay, that's great. Okay, so we've talked a bit about success. Looking maybe at the Japan market itself, what is good about it, or advantages of it, or disadvantages? I think, as we said, the government is trying to build a better pharmaceutical ecosystem, but maybe we don't. It's a work in progress. So I think there are some advantages to Japan. Are there any specific ones from Tanabe's perspective?
Yeah, maybe one key thing to kick off with. A lot of people in the audience, potentially, when they think of the Japan market or they look at statistics, they'll see that the growth rate of the Japanese pharmaceutical market is potentially near flat, or maybe a couple of percent. But if you actually dig into that, the growth of the innovative on-patent segment is actually much higher. It's more like 7 or 8%, I think, according to IQVIA. And where the decline in the Japanese market is coming from is from the long-listed products. So actually, if you look at the overall market growth, it might not seem super attractive. It might seem very mature, but actually the Japanese government is actually has some pretty good policies in place to ensure that genuinely innovative medicines do receive reasonable pricing and reimbursement. And obviously it depends on case by case. There's always nuances, but in general we see the Japanese market as being highly attractive for innovative. So first in class, best in class. All markets are going to be challenging if you've got more of a Me Too product, and Japan is included in that. But yeah, that's one key fact that I wanted the audience to take away in terms of the attractiveness of the Japanese market.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So let's maybe think from, say, companies wanting to come into Japan, say putting ourselves in the shoes of a Chinese company wanting to maybe initially expand outside of China. So maybe the US would be the global market that a Chinese company would go for first, and then maybe they wouldn't necessarily prioritize Japan. So have you seen this, Junke, with companies that you're working with that may have looked outside of Japan first and then later decided that maybe they should try the Japan market?
Yeah, for Chinese companies, right, the default consideration, of course, is China mainland and then probably US. Japan typically comes after that first round of consideration, but that actually creates a unique opportunity where they say, hey, we have already licensed out in China, in the West. There's not much we can do about that anymore. Now the company has more maturity, right? It's more mature. We have more, globalization strategy. Now, which market is left? And that actually is either Europe and Japan, or Europe has already licensed out too. So Japan is actually a considerable market to consider. That sounds like a niche occasion, but it's actually not niche at all. We see a lot of those opportunities. So yeah, that can be an answer to you.
Yeah, and there's increasing flexibility from the PMDA to want to encourage Japan to be included in global pivotal trials, for example. And it's increasingly common for biotechs as well as the big pharma to treat Japan very much as a wave one country, whereas before it would be maybe wave two. There are new pricing premiums, for example, if you include Japan in your global pivotal study and launch within 6 months of the FDA or EMA approval. If you get your PMDA approval in that 6-month window, there's a new pricing premium, so you can boost your reimbursed price as well. So the PMDA and the government in general is very much trying to promote bringing medicines to Japan as soon as possible.
Great. And from Chugai's perspective,
Yeah.
Song?
So I would like to add one thing that some people just simply say that China has a scale and speed, while Japan has a quality and technology. I think we can focus on what we have and what we don't, and also we can look for some missing pieces to be more ready for the global alliances. So probably we can think of Japan as a target market, as a target of the market expansion, but at the same time, we can think of the collaboration with Japan companies, especially like science or technology-based companies, to help validate the technology itself, and then use the Japan market and the collaboration as a platform for the global readiness. That's
Yes, that's interesting. Not just the Japan market in itself, but then going globally from that, validating the technology first. I think that's quite interesting. Do you have anything to add on that, Olivia? No. Okay, that's great. We have a few minutes, so maybe let's move on to try and think how Chinese companies could play to win in Japan. We've talked about different strategies of alliances and different models there. And today, surprisingly, everyone from the Japanese companies are not Japanese, right? So we're also ourselves coming from the outside, maybe looking in, which maybe a Chinese company or another international company wanting to get in the Japan market. So maybe we have some relative insights on that. Certainly one thing I've noticed in Japan is an attention to detail, that things may appear quite slow, but people wanting to get things correct, or in some ways not wanting to make mistakes. And I guess that's, in the long term, that's good for patients, where hopefully there's much more reliability with data. So I mean, this topic can be very broad, but we only have a few minutes. So maybe we can start with Junke of his perspective on the Japan, trying to get into the Japan market, and then Olivia and Song.
Sure. So very quickly, I think Japan is like, simply put, like the raw egg, right? It has a very hard shell, but very soft internal. So as long as you can break in the first shell, right, it's actually a very nice market to get in. It sounds very unfamiliar to you because culturally it's different, and there's China-Japan relationship, but as long as you understand the culture, and then probably even hire somebody to work with you, right? Like even a vendor, that is actually a very nice market to get in. And we also tested, in our project to see, does this any political relationship or anything affects that? And all the doctor says it doesn't matter, right? As long as the product is good, it doesn't really affect anything. So I think this is very important market to start thinking about and try to understand. As long as that can be done, those hurdles can be overcome.
I would like to add one thing. So, from my perspective, I think the decision-making process is quite different from other multinational companies or other countries. So, I think we better understand how the decisions are prepared rather than how things are debated at the meeting room. Because in many cases in Japan, from my experience, instead of like having a very like fiery, fierce discussion at the room to decide something, I think people start to start like some internal alignments, and like very quiet consensus building before the meeting. So, but I saw many international companies try to focus on their their presentation and negotiation
Yeah.
to convince
Right.
the counterparts. So I think it's very important to find out who's the key player in the counterpart company and
Yeah.
what's the concern beneath the surface. And I think that will be accelerate your discussion with them.
Yeah, that's a great point, Song. Just finding who are the key decision makers or how decisions in the company are made, and it's often not going to be in a meeting. People often go around talking to people outside of meetings, what we call nemawashi in Japanese, or be going around the route, and so it's often quite difficult. So then that makes it, I guess, more important for local partners in Japan to be able to understand the culture. And so with either Tanabe or Chugai in Japan, then that really can help companies from outside. So Olivia, would you like to add some points on helping, say, a Chinese company entering, or the cultural differences or structural differences of the situation?
I'm not sure I have a specific answer to that, but what I would like to say is adjacent, which is that so under Tanabe's new ownership under Bain Capital, which is obviously American private equity with a very American decision making process, and Tanabe being a Japanese company that's more traditional with a very deep history. What we're really trying to do by internationalizing the business development team, by keeping a strong business development team in Japan, but also creating business development in the US and globally, is to marry the strengths of both of those approaches. So very much keeping the detail-orientated, deep deliberation, high-quality processes of Japanese decision-making, while also speeding up decision-making, reducing the layers of governance required to make a decision. So as a partner, what we can offer is not only end-to-end search, evaluation, transaction, and alliance management in English with a global team, but also a combination of that deep Japanese approach and maybe faster, leaner governance structures from an American perspective with our private equity owners. So we are able to move quickly, make decisions quickly. Yeah, that's what I wanted to get across.
Thank you. No, I think making decisions quicker is not traditionally something Japan has been strong about, but we do see regulatory authorities changing and companies changing. So hopefully that will speed things up. As we have I think we just have a few more minutes. Are there any questions from the audience or questions that people would like to ask that we could try and answer? If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask.
Please.
Yeah. Someone.
First, thank you so much for sharing all of these thoughts. I'm just curious that in your past experience, what are the main challenges that you have met during your entrance in the Japanese market? Whether it's in regulatory affairs or get in touch with decision makers of the main pharmaceutical companies or dealing with the government, market access. Could you share a little bit of examples or the stories that you had about the main difficulties that you deal with the Japanese people? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. So regarding challenges that you faced in Japan regarding...
I can offer a couple of points there, and this is not challenges that I or our company have faced, but from parties that we've discussed with. When approaching the Japanese market, of course, getting clarity on regulatory issues is a key concern, and often very early on in the stage of questions that you think about. One thing that really wanted to highlight is the PMDA, the local regulator, offers almost unlimited access to informal consultations as well as formal consultations. And they're very much encouraging global pharma and biotech to make heavy use of that informal portal in order to build understanding of what the regulatory approach would look like for your particular asset. And the PMDA has also opened an office in Washington, D.C. to do that with a focus on American companies. But also you can take advantage of those informal consultations in Tokyo, and China's not too far in terms of a flight. So we'd very much encourage companies to take advantage of that.
So I can add one more thing from our recent experience. When we try to out-license our assets to, for example, U.S. partners, sometimes we ignore the fact that we need to also understand the target market. Even if we are not going to develop it for the U.S. market, we also still need to understand how U.S. market is going to see the potential like value and the addressable market size or etc. But as you know, recently U.S. market is very radically transforming. It's not very easy to track. So what we decide internally is to find out some direct kind of insight and information provider based in the US, and mostly most of them are now operated by AI power, increasing the efficiency, reducing the cost of the using. That's another example.
Great, thank you, Song. Is there anything you'd like to add, Yunki?
I think one more aspect is really the talent, because in Japan, it's relatively time-taking to find the first few people. For example, the general manager or the marketing leader. Those are not very easy to find. If you are finding from China, for example, right? So as long as you have the right talent, you'll succeed. But that takes a long time. So our typical recommendation is to think relatively early and take some time to find the right people, and then all other things will follow. So.
And to explore both approaches, both channels at the same time, right? Have discussions with parties such as Syneos about what it would take to enter the market yourself versus partnering, as well as also starting to talk to a wide variety of potential partners such as Tanabe, to really build your understanding of the options open to you is probably what we'd recommend.
Yeah, thank you. I think dialogue is very important, either with companies or the regulatory authorities. It's often, I guess, in Japan, it's often people may not initially take up that dialogue, but it's the regulatory authority that can give advice on what data you may need in your preclinical package, for example. Okay. So I think we've run out of time. So thank you very much for attending and asking the question, and we'll be happy to answer any further questions. Again, after the session. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to the panelists for joining.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for your sharing. Let's welcome the panelists for the next session.
有请下一场访谈嘉宾。
我们可以开始了，是吧？好的。大家你好。Shuzhou is a beautiful place. It's my first time visiting Shuzhou. People are nice and the food is gorgeous. I ate the fish like a fried up fish. Anyone here ever came to Japan? Oh, okay. There are actually many people. I wanted to start the panel I want to start the panel by, first of all, asking everyone some questions regarding cell and gene therapy situation in Japan. Number one, how many CGT drugs that are approved in Japan? A, 11, B, 22, 3, 50. Who know the answer? That's better. Okay, cool. Who think is A, 11? Oh, okay. Who thinks B, 22 is correct. Okay. Who thinks, well, 50 is right? Oh, okay. The answer is B. However, I think two products got what is it, like stopped or something? Like there's a drug called heart seed, and there's a corategen. なんか stopped. So I guess there's no right answer. 22. ちょっと引っ掛けなっちゃいました。20ぐらい。22, 22. まあ。Last question. How many clinical programs do you think is under development in Japan? No, sorry. Yeah, in Japan first. A, 80 to 100. B, 100 to 120. C, 120 to 150. A だと思う人。Sorry. A? I'm a little confused in between Chinese and Japanese. Who thinks A is the right answer? No. Yes, there's one. Who thinks 100 to 120 is the right answer? Who thinks 120 to 150 is the right answer? Okay. The answer is like B. By the way, in US, it seems there are 1,200 CGT drugs are under clinical trials. In China, over 700 is under clinical trials, if I'm not wrong. And by the way, EU, it's 400 plus. Okay, let's start. I'm Hiroshi. I'm Japanese, born in Sano City, grew up in Scotland somehow. And then I'm currently working at a company called GSL. We're here to bridge the gap between translational research and CMC, manufacturing, and business development. Okay. Kobayashi-san, can you tell me about your work and yourself?
Hello, I'm Miho Kobayashi from also the Little Japan, one of the global consulting company. And as a strategy consultant, I have been responsible for market environment analysis and strategy development in cell and gene therapy field for more than 10 years. And in Japan, since, do you know Professor Yamanaka? Professor Yamanaka in Kyoto University won the Nobel Prize for iPS cell in 2012. Many companies have entered into the cell and gene therapy field, aiming to commercializing the cell and gene therapy product. And they research and develop the cell and gene therapy product in various areas in Japan. And as Mr. Yamaguchi mentioned, and in this year, 2 iPS cell products were approved in Japan. But it took nearly 20 years from the iPS cell discovery to the social implementation. And moving forward, many innovative technology will reach patients after a similar time frame. That means 10 years and 20 years. So, or through the unpredictable social event like COVID-19 vaccine or something. And cell and gene therapy faces various challenges before social implementation. So, as consulting my work, my daily work involved collaborating with the client to develop strategy to overcome this bottleneck, establish promising business models, and enable sustainable new therapy delivery to ensure the academic and pharma's innovation to reach social and patients. This is my work. Thank you.
Thank you, Kobayashi-san. じゃあ、斉藤さん、お願いします。
Hi everyone, I'm a great honor to be here today. I understand that this session is more cultural than previous session, so I hope that this session can be a kind of mutual session. So not giving our talk to them and you guys, and yeah, I think it's kind of the conversation style is better. Yeah. Anyway, my name is Yoshi from the Inborn Pharmaceuticals. We are the pharmaceutical company, pre-seed pharmaceutical companies targeting the drug discovering for the ultra-rare disease patient in Japan. I don't know, the ultra disease here is a more bigger, larger market, but ultra disease in general is less than 100 in Japan, maybe 1,000 in the world. Yeah, so that's kind of the people are absolutely neglected. I mean, that's kind of patient, kind of the genetic disorders patient, absolutely neglected from the pharmaceutical companies' business target. But we want to solve that issue using the genetic medicine like AAV vectors and antisense nucleotide, and also the gene editing with collaborating with the academia in Japan or some perhaps with the academia all over the world. So now we are proceed and we're trying to discover the AAV vector therapy. But after that, we want to expand the other technology like antisense and editing, and starting from Japan. But I also focusing on the global market. Now I don't say it's a market, but a global patient. So I hope I'm here today to look for the partner and investor. So and also I want to give you guys and we want to talk about the situation about the regulatory aspect for the how to accelerate that discovery in the ultra rare disease. So currently the FDA launched the guidance for the individual drug discovery framework. So I want to share this information and I want to discuss this kind of topic today. Yeah, thank you.
谢谢。松永さん、お願いします。
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Kosuke. I am the CEO of a biotech company called T-Cell Nouveau. And T-Cell Nouveau is founded in 2021 and specialized in CAR T cell research and development, and also developing the next generation cell therapies. And our lead program is in phase 1-2 for solid tumor, which is specifically the neuroblastoma, which is rare diseases, pediatric solid tumor. And our second, which was the autologous CAR T. A second program is allogeneic CAR T using gamma delta T cells. Gamma delta T cells is a very unique set of T cells that has both innate and adaptive immunity function. But it's very difficult to culture and manufacture them. And we have our own technology to culture and manufacture them to sort of scale the manufacturing processes. And my role here is really to create innovations in CAR gamma delta T cells as the next new modalities for next generation cell therapies. And we are looking forward to sort of collaborating with many companies, I mean, in China and overseas in Asia as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The reason I gathered this Huobar because Kobayashi-san is one of the most successful and passionate strategy consultants, and she works at one of the best firms, and she knows so much just in general about CGT. And Saito-kun, he's kind of friend of mine already. We hang out a lot, and then he's very passionate about the industry, and he's a founder in the gene therapy rare disease company. And Matsushita-san, actually we work as a client, and he's also he used to be working at Takeda, one of the big pharmaceutical in Japan and AbbVie Japan, and then it intrigued me why he decided to set up and join a startup in CGT or cell therapy industry. And again, he's very passionate, loves his job. I think four of us can can potentially, have some good discussion here. Okay, I prepared a few questions to the panel. First, what makes Japan an attractive environment for CGT development, and what unique strengths and challenges does Japan have? じゃあ、小林さん、お願いします。
Okay, thank you. Today I'd like everyone to learn about Japanese attractiveness. And I'm consultant, so I'd like to share my analysis data. But I didn't remember all of my data, so I will check my PC while speaking. Okay, so the one of the Japanese attractiveness is the high level of quality among the working professionals with a fundamental understanding science. So Japan's cell and gene therapy is supported not only by the top scientists. In Japan, there are many kind of universities and a specialized technical college called Kosen Technical College, where students study science. And these institutions turned out many skilled professionals who have scientific understanding and can actually handle cell and gene in GMP or non-GMP manufacturing setting. And these professionals support Japanese cell and gene therapy field on the ground, while organizations like the Japanese Society for Regenerative Medicine, 日本再生医療学会, establish system for certifying or upgrading the skill of on-site professionals. And to widely promote cell and gene therapy in the future, it is crucial to further advance science and also establish a system to ensure consistently high quality across multiple manufacturing sites. In this regard, the high level of Japan's on-site professionals is a significant advantage, I think. And the second attractiveness is a national culture, highly sensitive of quality. I'm interested in how all of you here today think about Japanese culture. Is good culture or no at all? I'm interested in your thinking. But I think one characteristic of the Japan's culture is its strong commitment to high quality and its high sensitivity. Not just cell and gene therapy, but Japanese people have attitude of pursuing high quality and high sensitivity to things that differ from the usual. And this can sometimes be a weakness in business, honestly. And we often see situation where Japanese people pursue too high quality leads to a loss of cost competitiveness. But however, in cell and gene therapy field, only one mistake can be big matter of life and death for one patient. So this Japanese characteristic, Japanese culture often become a strength in cell and gene therapy field. And foreign people sometimes say Japanese people seems to have exceptionally sharp eyes. That means we don't overlook even the smallest details, impurities, or slight change in smells. And third attractiveness is the government willingness to invest in startup. And since the launch of Japan's national startup 5-year plan in 2022, significant R&D investment had flowed into biotech sector in Japan. Within this, investment in drug discovery has also been actively undertaken. And in terms of drug discovery, about 80% of new pipelines originate from academia and startups in recent years. So supporting these players, academia and startup, is the key for enhancing Japanese drug discovery capabilities. As mentioned, and funding from AMED. AMED is a Japanese funding agency. Is one of the important initiatives. Furthermore, Japan is not only funding pipeline R&D, but also investing CDMOs and the ecosystem for providing robust support across the entire supply chain. The government effort aim to overcome the Devil River and Valley of Death and Darwin Sea, and I think, okay.
Thank you, Kobayashi-san. What makes Japan attractive environment? Saito-san? And what are the challenges?
From my perspective, there's three things I'm going to talk about today. And one of the things that for accelerating the gene therapy is of course the gene therapy is always the most of them are targeting the very rare disease patient, right? So it's a insurance system that needed for accelerating that one to the market. So the strongest point of Japan is that we have the robust insurance system. I'm not sure it's a robust forever, but however, so far we have the very strong insurance system, national health insurance system. So if you get the approval, gene therapy will be approvable in Japan. So you can be reimbursed within the 6 days. So that is a unique system in the world. So automatically, 99% of medication will be covered by the national healthcare insurance. So 1% is a vaccine and Viagra or something. But 99% of medication will be covered, even the very small market, even though it is very extremely expensive. So this insurance system is a really strong point for accelerating the drug discovery in gene therapy. So, but however, very less medication here, but after this, so many drugs will be launched in Japan. So I'm not sure this system will be continuing in the future. But so far, it's a very big opportunity to be launched in with a very extremely high price. Yeah, price in Japan. So anyway, this is one of the things attractive point. And next things, I think we have the top tier academic researchers and clinicians in Japan. Well, not in the only Tokyo, but also everywhere in Japan. So this infra is really important to implementing the advanced gene therapy. So I think if you want to, sell your product to the Japanese market, if you go to somewhere far place in Hokkaido or Okinawa or rural area, maybe that doctor also can use that. That's a really, attractive point. So not only the Tokyo, but also the, nationally, we can use that technologies. And the third thing, maybe Kobayashi-san already said, I mentioned a bit, but the Japanese government currently tremendously invested to the gene therapy and CDMO, building the CDMO, and of course, accelerating the drug discovery. And also, the Japanese government try to invite the foreigner companies into the Japanese market, of course, including China. And we don't have any border for the overseas companies. So anyway, this momentum is a really unique. The Japanese government sometimes say it's called a drug loss. So we are really afraid to neglect from the worldwide market. So Japanese government a lot of invest to the attracting company from the overseas, and also invested to the in domestic company and growing. But anyway, Japanese government grants are really one of the attractive point for the not only for the Japanese companies but also the worldwide company too. Yeah. Is that okay, Hiroshi?
Thank you. Yeah.
Did you have any comment for that? Is it later?
Yeah, I like it. You talked about like Japanese government's supporting system. I think AMED. I'm not sure if everyone knows AMED, like venture capital, like a registered venture capital system. That is also, I think, pretty cool system that I want everybody to know about. So AMED is kind of like national funding function under Ministry of Health. And the system is pretty cool. AMED register decides which venture capitals are registered venture capitals. I think it counts up to 20, 30 now. But basically, if the registered VC, Inte VC, decide to invest in one company, then AMED ought to basically invest twice amount of the money, like until like 5 years or something. But yeah, I think this Soyaku ecosystem, drug ecosystem system, recently set up in Japan, started making more and more funders like Saito-kun to, set up business easier, give you some room for breathing.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Japanese government actually has a lot of very strong platform to allow innovations. There's a JETRO is another Japanese governmental sector we can touch up on later, and also NEDO, NEDO is under funding solutions in Japan. But okay, let's come back to the question. Matsunaga-san, what do you think are the key factors?
Let's see. Maybe there is one thing that I can add to both of these guys' mentions is the very much a strong scientific innovations. I mean, as Kobayashi mentioned, iPSC was originated in Japan in Kyoto University by Professor Yamanaka. And so we have a lot of deep understanding in terms of stem cell biologies, immunologies, as well as regenerative medicines. And when there is an innovations, it brings a lot of investments as well. So there was a co-collaborations between Takeda and Saira, which is the Kyoto University institution that focus on iPSC. And Takeda invested more than $200 million for the research and co-research development with Saira. So that creates very strong foundations for R&D, research development in cell therapies in Japan. And there has been about a decade, and a lot of achievements have come to fruition since then, I think. And also the AMEDs, everyone mentioned, I think it's called Japan Agency for Medical Research and Development. And they have that's the public sort of program, funding program, which we have been receiving as well for our lead program. TCM-001 is CAR-T development phase 1 and 2. And our VC covers 1/3 of the development costs, and the AMED covers 2/3 of the development costs. I think that's one of the unique area that makes Japan attractive for cell and gene therapies. Thank you.
And what do you think are the challenges? What are the challenges, do you think, Japan is facing when it comes to developing CGT?
Well, key challenges is really, from my perspective, especially biotech companies that are in cell therapy, is really speed into clinical, studies. It's always a competitive process, and when you are in a cell industry, it's not a local development; it's always global competitiveness. And oftentimes in cell therapies, it's very difficult to predict the outcome, the clinical outcome of the certain cell therapies. As you know, for example, T cells is really the living cells, and the patient's immune system or patient's environment is different from patient to patient. So it's very difficult to predict the clinical outcome. So it is very important to quickly enter into clinical trials. However, in Japan, it usually takes probably like 3 to 5 years before you enter clinical trials. So that's one of the things that very much important is cross country or very much collaboration with other farmers, making the good strengths, making the best out of each company or each country's strengths and weaknesses.
I'd like to add some bottleneck or challenges in Japan. And that the other challenges is the low drug price compared to EU and the US. And maybe I think that China seems to face the same situation, same challenges, I think. And the other challenges is a lack of CDMO capable of supporting startup GMP manufacturing. And the number of CDMOs is increasing with thanks to government support in Japan. However, most of the CGT players in Japan are academia or startups, so they often cannot afford the price typically set by CDMOs. So some organizations like, do you know, CCRM, the organization in Canada, and Cell and Gene Therapy Catapult in UK provide specialized support for academia and maybe startup. I aim to benchmark these successful example and implement a similar model in Japan in the near future.
What do you think, Saito-san? In terms of challenge, or any comment to Kobayashi-san's comment or Matsushi-san's comment?
To the Chinese player, I think it's needed to align this kind of the Japanese government policy and the momentum and movement. So Kobayashi and the Japanese government invest to the academia, initiate the academia or startup. So I think it's better to have the network with the Japanese academia, and the startup is one of the key factor to success into the Japanese market. So if the Chinese companies are thinking about how to jump in the Japanese market, so I'm going to strongly recommend you guys to connect it with the Japanese academia and the startup. Yeah. So yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Matsushi, just talked about first. I just wanted to also add some comments regarding Japanese development status around iPSC. So Japan, in March, actually 2026, Japan granted conditional approval for iPSC derived regenerative medicine, and those two products are, I think, first iPSC regenerative medicine in the world. The first one is called ReHeart. It's for severe heart disease, and the other one is called Amsheplu. How to pronounce this? Amsheplu, something like that. It's for Parkinson's disease. I also wanted to share screen and quickly introduce Japan's unique. Jesse, do you think you can share the thing? Yeah. Japan has a unique regulatory framework for regenerative medicine known as conditional and time-limited approval system. So normally, oh, see, that's pretty cool. Manga style. Everybody likes manga. So normally, when it comes to developing new drugs, there's clinical trials and approval and commercialization. But in Japan's regenerative medicine framework, first we get just a little bit of like early clinical data, right? And then we get conditional approval. And then within like 30 to 60 days, we gather the real world data. And then we get the full approvals. These two products I just mentioned earlier, the Parkinson's disease and several heart disease ReHeart, those are still undergoing the that one. Step 2 kana? Yes. So within 60 to 90 days, while patients are receiving the benefit of this CGT, like drugs, then we gather all the data, real world data, and then we're trying to get the full package approval. I think this is pretty unique, that regenerative medicine approval system in Japan, that I wanted everybody to know about. Any questions to this role in Japan? We have all the professionals here. I think it's clear, kana? Okay, let's go to the next question. What else? Huh?
From my perspective,
Okay.
I mean the drug discovery in the ultra rare disease or rare disease in general. So the regulatory framework is really important, and the most biggest accelerating factor is the regulatory framework. So currently the FDA in the United States and the UK also, and I think globally, they tried to create a new framework. It's called the process mechanism pathway. Yeah, process mechanism pathway is the conventional approval framework is the approved for the one product by one. But currently FDA are thinking about to create the process-based or platform type of approval system. So that can be effective for the accelerate genetic medicine implemented to the clinical. So I'm not sure that's kind of a framework aligned with this conditional approval system in Japan. But definitely this kind of the things should be discussed for the your business. I mean, not only creating your technology and doing your business. So always should be aligned with this kind of the policy and regulatory affairs, regulatory authorities. So what I would say is that every stakeholder and startup and big company too should be aligned with this kind of the policy in Japan and also the FDA.
With my very limited knowledge about Chinese regulatory policy framework,
yes.
I've learned there is a Biopharma 818 path, and what else? IIT kana? IIT is like a super quickly you can get the data. Biopharma 818. I think it's named after the date this policy was decided. August 18th. This is going to the normal drug development pathway, I think, like a GXP みたいな感じで. And yesterday, when I was trying to network at the bio night, there's a kind gentleman told me, okay, we need to decide deciding which ones we shoot for. It's going to make a world difference when it comes to new drug, development and approval in China.
Yes. Also, in my opinion, so this kind of the framework is not only from the one way. I mean, the regulatory authorities also wanted to discuss with the startup, the company. So they never published their own opinion by their only discussion. I mean, they always try to involve the startup, the company, and furthermore, they don't move without the companies. So companies start first, always, with the regulatory affairs. So if you, even a Chinese company too, or Japanese company, wants to create the momentum in Japan or other countries, we should move the first and talk with the regulatory affairs. And then regulatory affairs will, report or launch this kind of guidance and progress report. So I think the company should move first and talk with the regulatory affairs deeply, and then finally we can build the idea or framework system, new system.
Thank you, Saito-san. let's move to the next question I've prepared. So we talked about regulatory frameworks being very important for innovations and new drug development. It's about making the basic research or technology to the patients, right? So I wanted to ask all of you the question number 5, by the way. What are the key factors that determine whether a CGT program can move efficiently from research to patients? 松永さん、どうでしょう？
So key factors that determines it is a couple of things. I mean, the translational research and CMC is always very much important when it comes to cell therapies. Why another thing is really, as I mentioned, collaborations. I mean, developing the cell therapy requires a lot of expertise, and from biology and engineering, antibody, vector technologies, manufacturings, all these different areas require key expertise. And unless you are a big pharma with a lot of money, it's very difficult for you to do it all by yourself. So it's knowing your strengths and what you are good at, and what you need support from the other parties, that would make your program most valuable and most quickly to make it sort of clinical trials and have the smooth and speedy process. That's one of the key things that determines the pathway to clinical trial.
Knowing your strengths and weakness, are you a big pharma or a startup, right? It's gonna make a world difference. You know,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Say, coming from someone who worked at the big pharmaceutical company. やっぱり武田薬品とだいぶ違いますよね、スタートアップは。
Yes, yes, of course, it's very different. I used to work for Takeda, and Takeda is a big pharma, and we are a small biotech company, which have only, 15 people. But we are a group of people that do a lot of things, but more specialized in the CAR T sort of intracellular domain technology, as well as the manufacturer domain. That's where we are very much strong in. And other areas that we need to sort of collaborate with other farmers to make the product to enter the clinic.
ありがとうございます。
See you next time. 更多后续动态扫码入群关注。